you and I have been incredibly made.
Hmm.
And that if we put the right processes in place, we can do and achieve absolutely anything. However, there are terms and conditions that apply to this. Because it is only whenever I have been out of my comfort zone, whenever I have been challenged by things that I think, like challenges that seem to be intractable, that don't seem to be, like, that I won't be able to overcome them, that is when I find the true Peter van Kets in me coming out.
Hi and welcome. We're all faced with hard things, be it repercussions of COVID-19 or something completely unrelated. And this is a conversation about what it takes on the way through. I'm here today with Peter van Kets. And Peter is what you call an extreme adventurer. He has rowed the Atlantic Ocean single-handedly. He has trekked by foot, unsupported, across the South Pole. And he has taken dozens of other endurance adventure expeditions. Today, he's a highly sought after international keynote speaker, bringing a lot of those lessons that he's learned on those adventures into the business world. He's a best-selling author and a father. Now they say the greatest challenge of the modern age is the 7 summits, or scaling the highest peak on all 7 continents. But the 8th summit is about inspiring the human spirit. It is about the internal expeditions we must all undertake to achieve our goals. And that is what Peter is about. Peter, it's so great to finally meet you.
Thank you very much, Sterling. It's obviously amazing to speak to you and all your viewers and listeners. Yeah, looking forward to this time.
Yeah, me too. I tell you, ever since I came across your bio and everything you've been up to from one of the speaker bureaus that happens to represent both of us, I've become obsessed with everything that you've done. I mean, rowing across the Atlantic Ocean is something I've never even thought about. You know, that's not even a thing. I didn't even know people did that. How did you start? Or maybe a better place to start is, why did you start doing these adventures?
Sterling, I think it's a complicated question because, you know, when I was in my final year of school, if somebody had come to me and said, hey, Peter, there's an opportunity for you to become a professional adventurer, I would have gone, you know, that's next joke, please. Thank you very much. Yeah. But I think, Sterling, more importantly is I think that all of us have a spirit of adventure inside of us. I mean, many countries have been created, have been born out of adventure. So I think in all of us, there's this innate desire to, I don't know, break new boundaries, to start a business, to start a family, they're all big, you know, they're great adventures. I've just taken, like many other people, I've just taken my journey and the adventure that I go on to kind of a different level, so to speak. I was never always a professional adventurer, but I've always been, as a young kid, I grew up in a country called Namibia. In those days, it was called Southwest Africa, which is just north of South Africa, on the southern tip of Africa. And it was an incredible environment to grow up in. It was wild. I mean, we had big deserts that, you know, the Nama Desert is one of the oldest deserts in the world, huge open spaces. And it wasn't until 2005 that I decided to embark on becoming a full-time professional adventurer, which meant that I would just dedicate everything that I had and put all my time into putting together expeditions, going on expeditions, writing about them, speaking about them, etc. And it's been an incredible journey.
Well, and I have to ask, how? Like, did something happen in your life? Was there some impetus or a catalyst of some sort? Or you just woke up one day and said, all right, I'm going to adventure everything?
Sterling, a lot of people say to me, geez, Pete, life at home must be really tough for you, you know? And on the contrary, it's not. No, so I was busy planning an expedition, a smaller expedition from Madagascar to South Africa.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to kayak unsupported across the Mozambique Channel, which it's an extremely wild environment, a wild current, a wild sea. And at the time, Kim was pregnant. My wife, Kim, was pregnant with our daughter at the time. And I was out surfing. I do a lot of surfing. It's one of my favorite sports, at a local break here. And I met up with a friend of mine who introduced me to a chap by the name of Bill Godfrey. And he said, listen, Bill over here, he's wanting to row across the Atlantic Ocean. Bill, Pete, wanting to kayak across to Madagascar. You guys have got something in common. How about it, you know? And so started. And then Billy said to me, you know, Pete, you want to come and row the Atlantic with me? I said, Billy, there is absolutely no chance. You know, Kim is 7 months pregnant. Imagine me going home now and saying, okay, so here's a new idea. I'm going to go and row across the Atlantic Ocean. And I said, no, don't worry about it. Yeah. And then from there, you know, he phoned me about 7 months later. Hannah had been born. Things had calmed down quite considerably. And I chatted to Kim about it and eventually joined up rowing with Billy across the Atlantic. That was so Sterling, I've rowed across the Atlantic twice. The first time with Bill Godfrey and the second time solo. Both races unsupported, unassisted, from the Canary Islands to Antigua, 5,500 kilometers. So that was the start. That was the very first start. There was no ways I could do that without
I was going to say, jumping into the deep end, right? It's not like you did smaller races or you started rowing or you rowed in high school or something. It was just like, oh yeah, we're going to row the Atlantic Ocean.
Yeah. You know, it was quite a leap for me. I'd never rowed a single stroke in my life before when I agreed to do the race. So I had to go through quite a steep learning curve. And I think a lot of people are in similar positions. You know, you get this great idea about something, but you have no idea how you're going to do it. So you just put one foot in front of the other and you start preparing, planning, and really training. And, you know, you've got to get this thing right. You love the idea and you love the concept, but you've got to get it right. And the only way to do that is to actually get it done. And I suppose that's how we started. You know, my book, The Eighth Summit, and you alluded to it in your introduction.
Yeah.
And the whole reason why I called my book The Eighth Summit was because of that. Is because when we tackle things in life, it's not about what we tackle. It's about what happens inside our head that allows us to tackle it and allows us to be successful with that thing. Because whatever venture we embark on, like me rowing across the Atlantic Ocean and not ever having rowed before, is got to be slightly nuts, you know. There's got to be something inside my head that allows me to go, okay, I can do this thing. If I put the right processes in place, I can absolutely do it. And here's another thing, Sterling. That first conversation I had with Billy when I said that I was going to do the race with him, I said, we will do this race. We're going to win the race and we're going to break the world record. That's the deal. And everything that we do from this moment till the end of that race is going to be specifically designed to achieve just that thing. and it's easier said.
You know,
easier said than done.
Yeah, well, you know what I love is I've watched a bunch of interviews with you, and to me, and it sounds like to a lot of people, you're kind of superhuman. I mean, not everybody thinks about or even completes rowing across the ocean, but you describe yourself as just a normal person.
Yeah, and I think that's the important thing. Edmund Hillary and Tenzin Norgay, when they got off Mount Everest, the first thing they said was, it wasn't the mountain we conquered, it was ourselves. And so when I was at school, I was never a captain of a first team rugby or any big sport. I was never really good at anything. I mean, I participated in sport and I did well in it, but I wasn't like a super sportsman. Yeah. But one thing that I've learned over the years is that the thing that I'm really good at is I am good at being able to persevere. So so what that actually means is I'm okay with pain. Okay. I can embrace suffering. And I think that is absolutely one of the critical things around being able to be successful in life. Because people have this great idea that, I can achieve so much by doing so little, and it's so easy, because that's the way it's portrayed in a lot of the media, that when they are faced by their first storm, let's just call it a storm, when things start getting tough around them, they go, oh my goodness, I had no idea that it was going to be like this. What am I going to do now? So I can't carry on like this. This is too much suffering. I'm not prepared to put up with this. And boom, they stop what they're doing, and they do something else. So I've learned how important it is to embrace suffering, to be okay with it. And because I know that any great thing that I ever want to achieve in my life comes hand in hand with suffering, and with hardship and with tough times. It's just the way it is. Yeah. And that's the nature of life.
I've seen the same thing. It looks so easy. Buy this 10-step program, read this book, do this thing. You're like, oh, I'm going to have results tomorrow. And the amount of endurance, human endurance it takes to get through some of those things is really shocking sometimes, even to accomplish somewhat seemingly simple tasks. Did you have some kind of background for this, or did you see your ability to cope with pain over periods of time prior to your first adventure? Like, did you know you had this ability?
I don't think so. Sterling, I learned to persevere. I learned how to do it. People think that perseverance is something that you have or you don't have. You're born with it or you're not born with it. I truly believe that there's certain things that we can do that will allow us to persevere. And that is what my book, The 8th Summit, is all about. What can we do to allow us to persevere? We can definitely learn how to persevere if we really want to, but for me, the most important thing is, and this is the topic of my next book, is perseverance is all good and well. Grit is all good and well. Let's lump a couple of words together now quickly. Let's talk about resilience. Let's talk about perseverance. Let's talk about grit. And there's a whole, and they mean slightly different things, but let's just put them all together in one. Those things don't just happen either. You can't just persevere. Even if you put the right process in place in order to persevere, the most important ingredient is how much do you want to do it? If I'm climbing Mount Everest and I'm at third camp, okay, and it's terrible weather outside, and I unzip my tent and I look outside and it's minus 35, minus 40 degrees centigrade, and I know that I've got a tough day ahead. I've got to go all the way up and then come back down again because it's the whole climatization thing, and I'm really, really suffering. If I'm at that point and I get out the tent and I start trekking and I start suffering terribly, if I don't want it enough, I'm not going to do it. Doesn't matter how much of a dream it is for you, whatever it is, but my want for it to do it has got to equal the suffering that comes hand in hand with that specific journey or that specific venture. So in essence, what becomes the most important thing is how passionate are we about what we do. I'll see, I think you'll notice that I didn't use that word passion when I said how much you want to do it, because I think really people don't get what that word passion means. Okay, so there's passion, the verb, and there's passion, the noun. Let's forget about passion, the noun. I'm not discovering what my passion is. I'm talking about how do we be passionate people? How do we be passionate about what we do? And I think that is one of the great success factors in us being able to achieve success in the end, because our ability to be passionate about what we will do will determine how much perseverance we have in that journey. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes a ton of sense. I mean, who would subject themselves to pain purposefully for nothing? I mean, that would lead you to doing something else, you know? and it's easy to do that. But just, I have to ask, like, walk me through one of your rows across the Atlantic. Like, what was it like? What were you going through?
So any ocean is an amazing place to be in. I'm one of the people, and you get two different types of people. You have people that are absolutely happy being out at sea on a boat in the middle of the ocean, and you get those that are just not, you know, and they suffer a little bit more than the people that are happy out at sea. And I'm one of those guys that's happy with the ocean, happy to be out at sea. But being on a 7-meter rowing boat over 5,500 kilometers of open ocean is quite spectacular. It's quite frightening. It's absolutely beautiful. It's absolutely dreadful. It has everything in it that you could imagine. You know, for most of the time, the ocean's 5.5 kilometers deep. I made friends with fish. And I made friends with birds. And it's all written in the book. And in fact, over the next few weeks, I'm going to be putting up I've just now recently released the 2-part documentary, 90 Minutes Closer to Antigua, on YouTube, on my YouTube channel. So you can go and watch it there. And next week, I'm going to be posting my solo row, which was called Not Alone. And both of those names have very specific meanings behind them, and I'll get into that a little bit later. But being out at sea is an incredible thing. You know, Sterling, one of the things that people ask me most is, so Peter, put all your expeditions together. What is the greatest lesson that you've learned? And I'd have to say this, and this is absolutely critical in this discussion, is that the greatest lesson that I've learned is that you and I have been incredibly made. And that if we put the right processes in place, we can do and achieve absolutely anything. However, there are terms and conditions that apply to this. Because it is only whenever I have been out of my comfort zone, whenever I have been challenged by things that I think, like challenges that seem to be intractable, that don't seem to be like that I won't be able to overcome them. That is when I find the true Peter van Kets in me coming out. You know, they say to spend 24 hours, and if you want to know yourself, spend 24 hours in complete isolation. On my solo row, I rowed an hour and a half on, an hour and a half off. Picture the scene. 24 hours a day. So that's through the night, midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for 76 days. I guarantee you there's not one of your viewers out there, not one of them. Doesn't matter what they are, if they are the CEO of the biggest tech business in Los Angeles or wherever. There's not a single person on this planet that would not learn a great deal about themselves after spending 76 days alone. And so that lesson that I've just said now, the one that you and I have been incredibly made, that is the lesson that I learned the most on that road. So when you think of some of your viewers out there and you're saying, so Pete, consider yourself to be superhuman. I'm not. I'm just a normal guy. Like everybody else, if we really want something enough, and if we put the right processes in place, and we've got great vision, and we've got the right team, and these are all the things that I speak about, we can absolutely achieve that thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I heard somewhere, and I don't know if this is a technical stat, but it seems to me to be about right, where our minds and our bodies want to stop somewhere around 20 to 30% on the way to what we're actually capable of, because our minds tell us to get out of the race way before we're even in it oftentimes. So I've got a couple of places I want to go from there, but you speak about the process being so important, and to get through that process is something in and of itself. The training that goes into rowing across the Atlantic or walking across the South Pole is a mind hurdle in and of itself. What was your purpose? Is it just accomplishing it? Like, what inside you pulls you into doing that process?
Okay. So here we want to look at two things. One, what motivates you, okay, to do the things that you do. And two, what is your purpose? And I think they're two different things. So in my expeditions, I use my expeditions to raise funds for different charities. I am an ambassador for a non-profit organization called Children in the Wilderness. And what they do is they teach children that are born in wilderness areas, because in Southern Africa, I'm talking from Rwanda down, so I'm talking from the equator down to South Africa, there's a massive amount of wilderness area where communities live with dangerous game like elephants and leopard and lion and rhinoceros, and it's much easier for them to poach and to hunt and to just to not coexist well with dangerous game. And I think that what this group does is that they teach these people how to co-commune, co-farm, and co-live with these animals in wilderness areas. And that is the only way that we are able to conserve these areas. Okay, so that is my purpose. So that is the thing that I like purposely drive to push when I'm on my expeditions. However, what motivates me during my expeditions are different things. So let's just think about the first row across the Atlantic Ocean. I wanted to win the race and break the world record. Doesn't matter what that race throws at me, I'm prepared to put up with it, because that is the thing that I'm passionate about doing. Okay, so the thing that drives me to do that is my passion. And my passion for that one is want to win the race, want to break the world record. Trekking across the South Pole was completely different. Trekking across the South Pole 3 months before, I'd never been cross-country skiing in my life before. 3 months before the start of this, and it was, so the South Pole was a race from the edge of Antarctica to the South Pole to commemorate the first two people ever to get there. I don't know if you know the story. Roald Amundsen, the Norwegian explorer, got there in December 1911, and 34 days later, Sir Robert Falcon Scott, the British naval officer and explorer, arrived at the South Pole, devastated, find the Norwegian tent there with a flag and a note for them. And I don't know if you know the story, but him and his whole team on their return journey to the ship all perished. So we were out with 7 other international teams 100 years later to reenact that race. And here we go. 3 months before the start of the race, I had no idea how to cross-country ski. I'm not acclimatized. I'm an African. We don't get anything colder than minus 10 degrees at most in South Africa. So I had to really learn quickly how to acclimatize myself to that situation and to learn how to adapt and to get into that. And each of these expeditions, when I've got to that point that I think that I can't go anymore. Now, I'm talking about the point where I may die. There have been many times, many big storms. when I'm at that moment, there's a very special thought that goes through your brain. And that thought is, I have got to get up. I've got to get going. I've got to see this through because of my family back at home, because of the team that I've surrounded myself. What would they say to me right now to get me up, to get me going, to get back to survive and at home again? So it's a vast process that we can put together, but it takes a huge amount of discipline to keep that process together.
Yeah. You know what's really beautiful about that too is what pulls you the most is not you. It's for some other group of people. It's for your family. It's for, the people that are struggling in parts of Africa. It's a little bit ironic to me that what gets you through the darkest times is the other people.
Absolutely. Oh, and now we're talking about a subject that I could speak for a very, very, very long time on.
Yeah.
This COVID-19 has been a really devastating thing for hundreds of thousands and millions of people all over the planet. But I don't think that there's ever been a time in the history of this planet where, as a whole planet, as a global community, we've been called to step up to the plate with courage. We've been called to fight this thing together, as united, although, each country is doing their own thing. But it's quite an incredible time. It's a storm.
Yeah.
So let's just call this COVID-19 thing like a massive storm. And I want to compare this, although it's incomparable, to a storm that I faced on my solo row across the Atlantic. On that row, I had one storm. It lasted 6 days and 5 nights. In the first row, there were 4 storms, but just the one storm. So I set up very specific things during that storm that would allow me to overcome the fear of that storm. Now, there's been a lot of fear mongering around COVID-19, and it's a devastating thing. It's a devastating thing because remember, it's everything is happening inside our heads. Our ability to achieve success and everything, it's all inside you. 80-90% of it's inside you. And so we've got to make sure that during this time that we have set things up so that we are handling things within our brains that allow us to see opportunities, to help other people, etc., etc. So one of the things that I did during that storm was I set myself 5 things to look forward to every day during the storm. Not going to talk about 4 of them, but let me just talk about the one, because it'll just take too much time, Sterling. Okay, let's just talk about the one. And I'd like to really challenge your viewers with this one. So every day during that storm, I would, on my satellite phone, I would phone a specific person up. A person that has meant a great deal to me in my life, that has been part of the journey that I've been on, that's helped me to get to the position that I've been in. And I would think during the day, before I made that phone call, I would think during the day, what am I going to say to that person? How am I going to, what is the conversation going to be like? And I would take a couple of hours just thinking about this. Now remember, this is good stuff that's happening inside your brain. And then I would make that phone call. And if it was to you, Sterling, I would phone you up and I'd say, hey, Sterling, how's it going? It's Pete from Kets. And you'd go, no ways. Pete, aren't you in the middle of the ocean? And it would be quite an exciting event for you. And then I'd say to you, you know what, Sterling, I'm phoning you today to tell you what an amazing person you've been to me in my life. And you've done the following things for me. You've done this, on that, and that. I don't know what, I can't remember exactly what I would say to the person. And I'd say, you know what, today I'm going to be thinking about you and your family. I am going to do whatever during this day to remember you guys, and you're in my thoughts, and I'm dedicating this day to you because you're such a special person in my life.
Wow.
I can't believe the response that I got from the people that I spoke to during that time. just phenomenal. Usually, very emotional, breaking down in tears. And so not only is it changing stuff that goes on in my head, but also you're affecting other people's lives dramatically.
Mm-hmm.
So while we're in, I don't know if you guys are in lockdown now, we're in our 3rd week of lockdown. We've got 2.5 weeks to go. And it's proper lockdown. Mm-hmm. We are in 100% shutdown here. During this time, write a list of names of people. And it doesn't matter what order. Phone one person up a day. Tell them what they mean to you. And see what a difference that makes to you and to the people that you call. So there are very specific things that we can do, Sterling, during tough times that will enable us to be better and more efficient at what we do when it's over, because it is going to end. I had, and I'll never forget this, I had written on my on the bulkhead of my rowing boat, so just above my compass, I had 2 things written on my boat that were kind of my mantras during my solo row. And it was situated just above my compass. And it was 2 things. 1, this will end. So it's quite a good mantra to have. It's to know that, and many people, they'll get into a situation, I'll go, oh my goodness, it's not going to end. How am I going to make money? What am I going to do? It's going to end. It really is going to end. Mm-hmm. What we do right now, from this time till it ends, will determine how it ends for us. Mm-hmm. Because we've got to be very clever about how we use this time right now. And the second thing was, I'm not alone. Those are the 2 mantras that I had on my boat. This will end, and I'm not alone.
Yeah.
And so it's always about, it's going to end, and it's not about me, but it's about other people, and it's about the team of people that are, that got me to this place. My solo row, although you see Pete van Kets rowing off into the distance, it's not me. It's about other people. And so I really honor those people, to get me there. The Greeks.
Yeah. And
I don't know if am I speaking too much, Sterling?
No, I think that's really an incredible takeaway here. You put yourself on the line for something, right? You're in the middle of something that may kill you. And yet you take the time to think about other people, to call them, to express your love for them, their meaning to you. And I can see how that's, just as meaningful to the other person as it is yourself. But one of the things we're dealing with now, and you probably dealt with similar things in your adventures, is the uncertainty around it. We know it will end, but we don't know when that end will come. How do you keep going? Like, talk about the mind space of that for a minute.
Okay. I'm going to speak about a very specific thing right now that happened probably on about day 50, round about day 50 of my solo row.
Uh-huh.
I started getting current. Now, in the North Atlantic Ocean, in the southern part of the North Atlantic, you have a sub-equatorial current that runs from east to west, and it runs very likely at about 0.2 knots.
Okay.
Generally speaking. So it means you've got a very, very small current running with you. It hardly makes any difference to your boat. But at about 50 days, I started getting 1.5 knots of current straight on the nose. And then sometimes from the north, and then sometimes from the south, but not from behind. And there were days where I would finish my rowing shift. And I remember, I want to remind your viewers that I rowed 1.5 hours on, 1.5 hours off, 24 hours a day. Mm-hmm. I'd get to the end of my 1.5 hour rowing shift, and I'd pull my oars in, and now I've got exactly 90 minutes, and I was extremely disciplined about that time. So I'd pull my oars in quickly, I'd run up to my GPS, and I'd zoom in on my GPS to watch my track, just so that I could see which way the current was going, so that I could set my boat up to help whichever way I could. Mm-hmm. And as I would zoom up, I would see my boat track line going exactly back on the track that I just rode. Faster than I was going forward. Now, in layman's terms, let me just give this to you. So I would be going 3 steps forwards in my 1.5 hours on, and in the 1.5 hours off, I'll go 4 steps backwards. So I would go and rest for 90 minutes. And then the next shift, I would row for 90 minutes and I would not get to that same point that I was at before I finished the previous shift.
Oh my God.
And you do that for 24 hours, Sterling, and see what happens to your brain. And you sit there and you start calculating. And you go, yeah, how much food have I got left? How much, water supplies have I got? What happens if it rains? What happens if this current carries on for another 2 months? Then I'm going to have to get outside assistance. If I get outside assistance, I no longer am doing this unassisted and unsupported. There goes my whole dream. There goes my whole vision. There goes everything. Everything that I've put in for this is wasted. And so your mind starts playing games with you all the time. The temptation at the end of 4 days of this, because I promise you, I'll never forget sitting on my boat, just absolutely stressed and freaked out that I could not make forward progress.
Yeah,
and I would sit there, and my brain would start. I would start asking myself questions like, why am I doing this? What is going on? Surely what I should do right now is stop rowing, wait for the storm to end, and when the storm ends, just keep going again. The trick is this, is that if you do stop rowing, you're going to go back hundreds and hundreds of miles. And remember, at the same time, Sterling, I'm showing you my hands now. They don't look anything like they did on the row. Your viewers can check out my website to have a look at that. Or there's some graphic footage on the first row, which is on my YouTube site. Your hands are raw and blistered almost to the bone.
Yeah.
You've got boils, pressure sores on your backside. Okay, you won't see footage of that. That's for,
thankfully.
That's for special friends. And so you're really suffering during this time. And so the temptation is to pull the oars in and just wait for it to go. But you don't. You just keep rowing. You focus on today. What can I do today? What can I do during this shift that'll just keep me in the game? I've got to keep in this game. I've got to look for opportunities. There's got to be something that I can do. If I pull my oars in and just do nothing, I'm going to go back hundreds of miles. So my advice is, during this time, is to keep rowing, metaphorically speaking.
Mm-hmm.
Don't stop. We don't know when the current's going to end. The fact that we do know is it will end. It is going to end. Without a doubt, this is going to end. But we need to take action right now to make sure that it ends well for us. It may last 4 or 5 months. It may last another year. We don't know. But we can't stop rowing. We can't allow fear. Fear is a complete immobilizer in our lives.
Right.
So I want to talk about something, Sterling.
Yeah.
The Greeks have a word Kairos. And Kairos is basically it's an opportunity. It's a great opportunity that comes our way. And we either see it or we don't see it. If we don't see it, it doesn't matter. But then there's other things. If we see it, we can either take it and use it or not.
Mm-hmm.
So our ability to see opportunities, especially in times of trouble like this, in stormy times, is determined by what is going on inside our heads. And this is where I want to speak about your viewers and listeners, about what energy are they putting into negative things, negative news around them. Because if they are feeding that bad wolf. And when you feed that bad wolf, it is, and I speak about the bad wolf, I'm sure you know that whole saying around, what wolf you feed is the one that'll eventually come out. But when you feed yourself good stuff, because it is only when we are focusing on the good stuff around us that we will get to see opportunities that come our way. that we will be in the right state of mind to say, okay, that is a great opportunity. Let me take that and use that. And if we do take that opportunity and use that opportunity, everything in our lives will change.
Yeah, I love that. You know what's so funny? I just literally wrote a blog last night about Kairos, because it feels like we're in kind of a moment for something here, individually and as a global culture here. Now, one of the things that you brought up a couple of times is this mind game. And so I was reading somewhere, I think it was in one of your books or the opening to one of your books, your website, somewhere. And you were saying one of the darkest times on your solo row was around 4 a.m. Yeah. And there really wasn't any difference between 4 a.m. and 12 noon or 3 p.m. or whatever time. It was only in your head. And I think that's easy to grasp as a concept, right? Okay, well, nothing's changed, really. You're still rowing. We're still in the middle of COVID-19. We're not quite sure where the end is. But how do you play that game? I mean, it's one thing to know it. It's something else to be able to continue to push through when it gets that hard.
So when you're at 4 o'clock in the morning and you think that you are unable to physically row, and that's what it felt like, another 24 hours like I just rowed.
Yeah.
It's what you tell your mind. So you either go, hey, yeah, I actually believe that little voice. Or you go, you know what, it's just, this is the moment, okay? Now I need to pull myself together here. I need to suck it up. I need to finish this shift, and I need to just until the next shift comes up. I know that things are going to get better. I'm going to feel better. I just need to push through this time, and it's a real suck time there. No other way to put it. It's pure suffering, and I really struggle with that graveyard shift, and I do in most races. In fact, I'm supposed to be racing right now a 550-kilometer race in the mountains of Lesotho, an adventure race. That is another one of my big races. And I know that in those races, because you race 24 hours a day. I mean, you rest. The last race, the last 6-day race we rested 7 hours in 6 days. So those dark hours at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, so long as you can say to yourself, and you have the ability to say, you know what, I'm really suffering right now. I really don't think my body can do another 24 hours, but I know without a shadow of doubt, I need to just wait through this period, and then in 2 hours time, I'm going to be okay again. There's nothing that you can actually physically do to make yourself feel better. It's just got to get through this time. It's going to be okay. Just this shift. Just finish this shift. It's going to be okay. Finish rowing. It's really terrible. It's raining outside. The waves breaking over the boat. There could be lightning. We went through many, many electric storms. It's absolutely terrifying.
Yeah.
And then try and think of good stuff. You know, during that time, try and focus on, like during my 6-day storm, I had on day 3. Okay, so let's just talk about the 6 days. So 6 days of fear, Sterling. People will say, Pete, you're an adventurer, a radical adventurer. Surely you don't experience fear like everybody else. I guarantee you I experience fear like everybody does. There's no escaping fear, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But allowing fear to grab you and put you into a downward spiral is extremely dangerous because it is absolutely immobilizing. So here, in this 6-day storm, I'm on parachute anchor. So it's a 12-foot round diameter parachute, like an old army parachute deployed in the water, 100-meter rope attached to the bow of my boat. And it's basically an anchor stopping me in this massive storm. First 3 days of that storm, I'm terrified. Lying inside that cabin, I'm being tossed around like a cork in a rapid. It's a tiny little minuscule boat in the middle of an ocean, 2,700 kilometers of water all around. The first 3 days, I'm worried about my life. So I start to get into this little bit of a spiral of, oh my goodness, I'm not going to see Kim again. I'm not going to see Hannah again. And you know, the whole thing. On day 3, I wake up. I was resting intermittently. wake up and it feels like my boat's being pulled apart by the strength of this parachute anchor pulling my boat through these big swells. And I look outside and I think, okay, in the break between the sets, I must quickly get out and have a look to make sure that everything's okay. And I quickly open the hatch and I get out. And as I get out, I find this juvenile storm petrel. It's on my boat. It's a type of bird, mid-Atlantic bird. It's absolutely finished. It's going to die. So as I check everything, I quickly pick the bird up and I put it inside my cabin, close the hatch. It's terrified. This is a wild bird. And I've got some classic photographs of it and footage of it as well. And it's terrified. It buries itself in some of my kids, carry on rolling. But now for the next 3 days of that storm, I named him Simon after, I don't know if you know the song, Paul Simon and Lady Blacksmith Mabaza. They had a song called Homeless, a very famous song here in South Africa. And he was homeless. He needed a place to stay. So I named him Simon. So Simon stayed with me for those last 3 days of the storm. So here's the thing. First 3 days, my mind is going, I'm not going to live. I'm going to die. Woe is me. The next 3 days, I'm going to kill Simon if I roll on him. So now I've got to be careful about Simon and what I do. Now I've got to look after this other creature. So now my brain is now functioning and it's not about me anymore. It's about this bird. Yeah. And all of a sudden, the storm is nothing. It's like finished. It's just me and the bird. And it's an incredible place to be. There again, it's that whole Kairos thing, focusing on the good stuff allows us to see opportunities and allows us to take great opportunities in life. So whatever good is happening around us right now, it's difficult. It takes discipline to do that. But get into it. Focus on the good stuff and just watch how everything around you just changes.
Yeah. I was watching something the other day and they were talking about stacking gratitude. And it doesn't have to be anything big. It can be a bird in the middle of the storm or the fact that, you've got two eyes and you can see. There's limitless things that we can be thankful for. And how are you dealing with the whole crisis right now? I mean, are you pulling on some of these skill sets that you've developed in the adventures?
So as a speaker, I rely totally on being able to go to conferences and speak, to big groups of people. So I've never really got into speaking to conferences vicariously. It's a whole new game for me. So I've had to learn a whole new skill set around, doing Zoom conferences, etc. So it's something that I'm learning. I'm using this time to finish my second book. And I'm very excited about that. In fact, I'm going to get ideas for a third book now. So, so every single day, I was saying to my wife, Kim, I can't believe how busy we are. We're so busy during this time. It's not that I don't want to rest or anything. It's just that just every day just seems to be going by so quickly because we are focusing on the good stuff. We're focusing on the stuff that needs to get in. We know that when the storm is over, we're going to be running. We're not going to be going, oh my goodness, I need some kind of injection to get me back into, the mode that I need to be in. We're going to be streets ahead, So I'm just using my time. I've just created a new YouTube channel. Never really got into YouTube before. It's kind of a new thing for me. So if any of you just want to go onto my channel, I think I've created some good stuff over the past few weeks.
Great. I can serve as a testament to that.
Yeah. So it'd be great to get some viewers from the States watching this. Most of my viewers are South African. But it would be amazing to just continue that. And as I said, over the next few weeks, I've been on so many expeditions. I'm going to be posting a series of 6 YouTube videos about a mountain biking expedition I did from southern Angola through the Nama Desert to southern Namibia. I'm going to be posting about an expedition called the Beyond the Rift Valley, which was trekking a series of mountains that separate the Congo River and the Nile River in Central Africa. There we came face to face with mountain gorillas. Just wonderful experiences. So lots coming up on that YouTube channel, and lots of work that I'm going to be putting into that, you know, to try and get it up and running.
Yeah. Well, I think I've gotten a number of things from today. I mean, one is it will end. You know, whether it's something to do with COVID-19 or something else, it will end. And if we make it about something else, someone else, you know, going back to your Simon, the bird you had in your cabin, something else, someone else kind of pulls us through. And as we can be thankful and really sit in gratitude, that's what's going to leave us in action, not in fear. Anything else you want to leave people with? Because you've been in so many of these like life and death situations. I'd love to hear any other takeaways.
Sterling, I think two things quickly.
Yeah.
The one is that the greatest lessons that I've ever learned, and the biggest takeaways I've ever learned, and the things that have got me to the places that have given me the greatest successes, have always been out of the hardest times that I've experienced. Now, that is why going through storms and even failure is such an important part of our lives. Not saying that we should aim for failure, but the lessons that we can get out of it, the lessons that we can, but you need to focus on and need to think, geez, what am I actually learning here? And like, how can I, Peter van Kets, grow from this thing? And this is absolutely a time for us to take advantage of the storm, not to sit back and go, you know, this is a terrible time, you know, I'm not going to survive it, you know, what am I going to do? It's the, hell's teeth, this is like an amazing opportunity. What am I learning about myself? Everybody's in the same storm, everybody's feeling the same way. But what can I do to make myself better at what I do and make myself more efficient at what I do? Because there's something that I can do every single day. That's the one thing.
Yeah.
Other thing is that it takes an extreme amount of discipline to do this. Now, discipline is something that we've learned of for many, many years. And you know, you speak to somebody about discipline, and they go, oh, geez, you know, you don't need to speak to me about discipline. I know how to be disciplined. But let me just quickly speak about two types of discipline in life. There's external discipline. It's like, Sterling, it's like you phoning me up every day and saying, Pete, you know, let's talk about this. Let's do, you know, let's maybe make a video together, or let's do something together. That's what we call external discipline. Like Billy waking me up on my rowing boat for my shift every time. So he's actually waking me up. He's motivating me to get up. I have to get up because that's what I have to do. That's what we call external discipline. It's great. It's fantastic. It works wonderfully. But now, picture the scene. 3 o'clock in the morning, you're in the middle of the ocean. You are lonely, you're exhausted, your hands are raw, almost to the bone. You've got boils on your backside. You look outside your cabin. The alarm clock is going. You look outside your cabin, it's raining and it's lightning and it's miserable. What do you do? Remember, you're alone. What do you do? It's 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
Most people say, Pete, don't be nuts. Press the snooze button. And that's okay. And it's okay to do that if you don't want to win the race and if you don't want to break the world record. But if you do, you got to suck it up. You got to switch that alarm clock off. You've got to get back out there. You've got to put your backside back on that seat. You've got to curl those poor hands around those oars again. Got to bite your lip with the pain. Doesn't go away until you get used to it. And you've got to row for another hour and a half. Why? Because if you don't, your competitors are going to overtake you. And if you don't, you're not going to win the race or break the world record. That's not the dream. That's not the vision that you have for your life, if that is. But here's the thing. If you press snooze, not a single person in the whole world will ever know. It's just you. And what happens inside your head. And the second thing is if you press snooze button during the storm, or on any venture that you embark on in your life, and I'm speaking metaphorically here, nothing will ever, ever be the same again. Because I guarantee you 2 weeks later, when your hands are worse and your buttocks worse, the conditions are worse, you'll press snooze twice. Then you'll press it 3 times. Then 2 weeks after that, first position is not important anymore. Just getting across the ocean is good enough. And it's fine. But that's not the dream. That's
right.
not the vision. So I really believe that we want to use this time to become really good at something, to become great at something, in fact. We need to move away from being externally disciplined. And we need to become more and more self-disciplined in what we do. And if we can be truly self-disciplined in what we do, and we put the right processes in place in our lives, and we relentlessly pursue that thing, I guarantee you, and then on top of it, we got to add in a whole lot of perseverance and grit and resilience. And we put that thing in together and we pursue it relentlessly. I guarantee you will not fail. Absolutely no chance.
Peter, I'm just blown away by who you are, your message, what you've done. I so appreciate you being here and talking with all of us today. It's been amazing. Where
Absolutely cool.
can I find you?
I just wanted to show, this is a copy of my book, The 8 Summit. If any of you want a copy, it is on Amazon. And also, if you wanted to get a signed copy, you can always message me through my website and I can get a copy to you and I can write in anything specific. And my website is www.petervankets.co.za.
Do you want to spell your last name maybe? Because I know I severely mispronounced it.
Okay, so it's Peter as in the normal spelling, Peter, and then VANKETS.co.za.
Perfect.
That's my website. Just Google me and you'll be able to find some more information about me and what I do.
Fantastic. Thank you again, Peter. Thank all of you for joining us, and we'll see you on the next one.